I'm still of the strong opinion that architecture school should be 6 years straight.
There's a lot you will learn when you leave school that they don't talk about enough in school. Fight you go to. There's no work you do that you may not have issue with somebody. That through negotiation and all that, you get yourself out of it.
And I'm going to use the opportunity to say that if you're in school and you're not learning any 3D softwares as an architecture student, I don't think you're really serious about practicing.
Please, relationship. Building a relationship doesn't mean doing free work. Please, that's not what it means, bro. I'm telling you, I got to this office for the first 6 months. I was doing bathroom details. They told us that just survive architecture school. If you can just get through the all-nighters, get through the endless juries, the impossible deadlines, and you now manage to graduate, you are going to rest. Or that the worst is over, But here's the truth that nobody warned us about. Graduation is not the finish line. It's actually the starting gun. In the Olympics where they're about to start a race, they will shoot a gun. So it's actually the starting gun. And then today we are going to take a deep dive into the biggest myth we believe as architecture students. Okay, that after school, the worst is over. We can now get to rest and then make big money. We're working for an architecture firm.
Everybody believes this.
Yes, they will be paying us a lot of money. We'll buy cars, but we'll be resting. We'll not be stressing ourselves. Okay, we have and if you're practicing now, if you're not an architecture student anymore, if you're practicing and you're wondering when is this rest that we're talking about coming, don't worry, you're not alone. We are all waiting for that rest. So in today's conversation, we are going to be diving deep. We're going to be having honest conversation about this topic, this myth that rest is coming. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Onochi, and I'm going to be the host of today's conversation. With me are two extraordinary gentlemen. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Madu Eden, but I go by Light.
Okay.
I'm Emeka Idika Praise.
Right. So let's first of all establish the objective of what we are going to be discussing today. Because, as they say, the only way we are going to know when we get to where we are going is if we know the destination.
Yeah, where we were. Don't worry, I understand.
So, the objectives, the number one is we are going to be highlighting the realities and challenges faced by the graduates entering the professional world of architecture. Then we are going to also address, that's objective number 2 now, why this misconception exists and how academic life sets certain expectations. And then we're going to share personal experiences. We'll be sharing personal experiences and lessons, that we have learned to help listeners and our viewers to prepare mentally and emotionally for life after school. And then we're going to offer insights of how to better navigate this earlier career phase, emphasizing growth, adaptability, and resilience rather than as expecting to rest, and getting paid plenty money while resting. Encourage open dialogue. We're going to also encourage open dialogue and adjusting expectation and finding personal fulfillment in the evolving journey of becoming an architect. So, without any further ado, we're going to highlight the realities, and challenges faced by graduates that are entering the professional world, right? Yeah. So I'm going to open this, and I'm going to open the floor on this. So the first one, I think, is a shock of transition. All right? So because you're coming out from a school that has structure.
In quotes.
Yes, now, because everything you're doing in school, the problem you're going to solve in the design are problems that are well thought of.
Yeah.
By
Everything
your
has
jurors.
been planned.
Yes. By the mentors and the jurors. They know what you should be able to do at the current level that you find yourself. Right? So they give you everything you need. The concept, give me this, give me that. Look at the sheet you're coming with. You must come with concept, we must come with model. They tell you what to come with.
An outline of what to come with.
Yes, and if you don't come with those things, you are going to lose mark. So you try your best to come with those things, right? And then while you're in school, there are certain times to do certain things. There is certain times for you to plan the design, all those things, and they give you a reasonable timeline for you to be able to deliver what they are giving you.
Yeah.
But then when you come out in the real life, and back to school now. Whatever you are doing in school is number one. You have to have a concept. You have to do something that is beautiful, aesthetics. Nobody is telling you about guidelines, budget, all those clients, back and forth, working with contractors, and all those things. So once you are done with your part, the project is done. You are the beginning and the end. You are the star. You are the star guy. You understand? So, but when you come into the professional, the professional practice now, you now realize that it's not exactly like that.
No, it's not.
The project timeline can be long, it can be short, and when it is short, you are required to deliver. So on time, right? And it might take years to complete the entire, like from the conception to the end. You understand? But the design phase might be very short. And once you enter, you'll be thinking you start designing museum, designing civic center, designing library, all those things that you were doing in school. Then now come, they will sit you down. They will sit you down and they'll tell you, look at this toilet, detail this for me.
It's really just beautiful how it works. In school, there's a lot of communication about concepts, your design theory, and a lot is being taught about research finding as well. And it will shock you that actually you even do more research in practice than in school. More research that are applicable to that design.
Basically, in school, what people do is just to trace what others do.
You are not actually doing any research. Let's be real. You are collecting research findings and you are tracing it.
You feel like I'll trace 5 sheets this time.
of which you have done zero research.
It's really funny to see because it's more like practice is an advanced. In MSc there's like advanced structures. Practice is an advanced whatever happened in school. You think that in school you think that your deadlines. As will I use the word as liberal as some juries maybe with deadlines, you think that you hear people still complain that the deadline is too short.
Yeah.
But in real life, you may even experience deadlines that are shorter.
1 week to do what they gave you 3 weeks to do.
Deadlines that are shorter. And in this environment of practice, is more like these deadlines also have a penalty attached to them. And so if you cannot meet up to some of these deadlines, you get to suffer for it, or the firm gets to suffer for it.
Yes. There can be problem associated with not meeting this deadline. And it can be personal or it can affect the firm at large. First of all, the firm can lose the client.
Of course.
Depending on the type of deadline that they missed. And secondly, if you don't meet deadline, it can lead to legal penalties where you now start paying.
You don't want to experience that.
You now start paying limited asset damages. For each day you did not meet up with the project. And you said that you are the reason why the firm is losing this client, paying penalties. You will lose the respect. You will lose trust. They won't be able to trust you. Some people might even fire you.
God, I beg.
Depending on the severity of the case. Now,
another thing. Okay, you can.
The thing with this deadline of a thing in school. Worst case scenario, you don't meet the deadline, but you get an F.
You come back next year.
You come back next year and do it again. But now you feel like maybe these deadlines will not be that detrimental. But it is more. It's more detrimental in real life because, like you said, you can lose the clients. Like, okay, even if you don't meet up the deadline, but you still deliver, that client will not want to come back to you again because you don't deliver as promised. That's one. Two, like you said, the firm can fire you. A very, very big issue.
I think another very shocking thing coming into practice is the scope of work. So in school, you have to design a civic center. You start from concept and all this stuff. And you come into practice and they are giving you crumbs. Big boy like you that was bagging.
You got in throughout your
design. They are giving you to do door schedule. I don't like that. I don't like
cutting wall. You have not seen cutting. If you do cutting wall schedule,
cutting wall detailing.
In a very like high-rise building that has a lot of made of cutting walls. Building that is made of cutting walls, and you're supposed to take note of each and every one of them.
It can really
that
be
is a
shocking.
very daunting work.
And you can be on some of those type of projects for weeks, back and forth. There's a lot of corrections on just that window schedule or cutting wall details that you're doing, and it's really frustrating.
That also reminds me of something. In school, it's like a short sprint. They tell you 1 month. And once the 1 month, maybe they will give you people grace 1 more week, depending on what is going on in school that time. 1 more week, 2 more weeks. And then finally, when the presentation is done, it's done. You can now go and rest till next semester. But then you find out that in professional practice, when you're in the real world, the project, they will tell you you have 3 days to design this thing. If you don't give us this thing now, we are going to die. So 3 days will come and go. You delivered. And then back and forth. You now start
Back and
moving
forth,
direction.
taking like
That's
3
something
weeks.
you're supposed to do in 3 days will now take like
Over a month too.
5 years of back and forth from the design. So you're waiting, let me just deliver this so I can rest. Like
There's
you
no
do in
rest.
school after semester. Because after presentation, you can go and sleep for 2
If
days.
it's
Sleep.
if it's Thomas Shelby, you say there's no rest for you in this world.
Perhaps. So that also, you'll be waiting for the time you're going to rest, and you find out that the rest may not come. And also, in school, you're supposed to do your work yourself. Okay? Anything you don't do doesn't, and that is
It's
one
my
of the things-
practice now.
Yes. Well, that is one of the problem, because now you learn to do everything yourself. So when you're now supposed to work with a team of people like you do in an office, it's collaborative in an office setting. You answer to somebody and you're supposed to work with some people to get the job done.
Yes.
Now you will not know how to work with people. When you're doing work sharing in Revit, you are now deleting other people's stuff, making some errors that will make
Don't remind me.
make the work take longer. So if you are not able to now quickly adapt, to the conditions of working in real world in an office setting. And when I'm talking about, I'm assuming that the office, you're not the only person, because, there's another thing that is happening now. Real
Yeah.
estate firms will go and employ somebody
Employ
out
a
of
young
school.
graduate.
A young graduate, and that young graduate becomes the engineer.
The architects.
The architect, that is
Every-
quackery. Every. So you are still working alone. I'm talking about.
And you're working on that without supervision.
I'm telling you.
Do you know the funny thing is this? But I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said, "You tell me, I forget it. You teach me, I may remember, but when you get me involved, I learn."
Yeah.
And the truth is, we have a lot of young architects now that are not involved in proper architectural practice.
Yeah.
They just have the knowledge of what they were taught in school, but they are not involved in actual professional practice, and they are not learning anything.
All right. So you find out that it is when you now come into the right system. Okay, when you come into the right system, that is when they will put you through all those things. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to start from that doors and window schedules. you have to start. So you have to lower your expectations.
Be humble. Sit down.
Be humble.
Stay humble, eh?
You're not coming
Be
into,
humble, yeah.
you're not coming into somebody's firm to start running things.
Yeah.
To take charge, start
You have
designing.
to integrate with the office philosophy as well.
Yes, if you come into any firm and they are requiring you to do that, maybe you are not. You are there to learn.
Yeah.
And if you're the one teaching, that means there's a problem. You're just coming out from the school. I mean, you don't know. You know a lot. Too. Don't get me wrong. I know you got A throughout. You must know a lot, but there are other things that you need to be able to run a successful firm and to keep it running for years.
That brings me to another vital point. I feel like it's really important that young architects know that they should ask questions. I remember once I was speaking with an architect, and he told me, he's like a fellow of the Institute of Nigerian Architects. He told me that there are no wrong questions. There are only wrong answers.
Mm-hmm.
And in his own defense, he's just trying to explain that you should be open to asking questions. A lot of young architects move into new practice, a firm per se, fresh out of school, and they feel like they need to prove a point. I agree, you need to prove a point, but you should be open to asking questions and learning, because now every mistake you make can actually cost the firm a lot.
And you too. You too.
How you submit drawings and then you don't cross-check your dimensions, you don't
Yeah.
cross-check the sheets, whatever,
To make the firm look unprofessional.
and it's really sad to see.
Yeah, you see, it's some work that gets put out sometimes by firms, and you
Most
know, as I
of
said,
the times when you're working on we're working drawing, and then maybe, for example, you want to put spot elevation and you don't know how to go about it, you will not ask. You just not put the spot elevation, but based on office standards, yes, there's supposed to be spot elevation there. So when you submit it, you will not have to come back
Of course.
And I think the part of the problems why that happens is because some people lie in their CV and Revit 100%.
We need to do-
3 years past Corona 100%.
We need to do a podcast on portfolios.
Nah.
How to make them and how
Now.
to make them work.
Now you now come to the firm. Shame no go gree you.
Shey no gree ask. I mean, let me talk
They'll tell you,
100%.
you
They'll
just
put all these
modern-
things. Also put I can work under intense pressure. Maximum pressure. Bring it. There's nothing I cannot do.
Having a BSc in architecture alone means you can work under pressure. But for you to now write it in that CV, Baba,
Sometimes it doesn't mean that, though. You have not seen pressure. You think you have seen pressure, there is more. Now, there is also something, the financial expectation versus reality. When you're in school, you're not bothered about finance, all those things.
to an extent, sure.
Yes, you're not bothered about, because except for some mentors that will tell you, come, this lift you are putting here, you have to justify it. You don't just put lift anyhow.
I will not call names.
You don't just put knees, and your building does not have necking. How do you
Connect
it together?
Yeah, you're throwing curves up and down.
Yes,
What you do?
it will bring problems that will require a lot of money to solve along the line. But then, most times, once it looks nice, once the concept is making sense, nobody cares to ask you about finances, costs,
budget
all those
and
things,
stuff.
and bottleneck that you face in real life. Which is why when you enter firms, you're not the one designing because you don't know all those things.
Yeah.
So that is another thing. And then the mental health and burnout. In school, yes, burnout too.
Yeah.
Mental health. But then in real life, you see, there are there is a firm you get into. You're always working. They will give you break, or sometimes they will give you vacation, maybe Christmas break, Christmas vacation, all those things. But then you find out that within the within the working days,
Yeah.
within the months, the working days, all those things, you are supposed to come to work by 9 and you leave by 5. And even when you're gone, you still take, and nobody is going to now come and start congratulating you for pulling an all-night again now. You are doing what you're supposed to do to meet the deadline that is attached to the project that you are, you are involved in. Because if you don't meet up because now you're a small cog in the machine that is running endlessly.
Yeah.
If you don't meet up with your own deadline, it might lead to some sort of issue.
Yeah.
Especially when it is like a very strict contract that you people are in.
Yeah.
That if you don't meet up with your design
There are
deadline,
penalties.
legal penalties. So all those things they come in. In school, we have quick rewards. You do your stuff. That's the design.
You get your A.
You get your A or B or F.
Got that B.
You know where it stands. And next semester again. But then in the real life practice, it might take years
Yes.
for you to, that thing you designed, for you to see it, that toilet you detailed, for you to see it out there in the real world. It might take years. So it is slow but steady reward. You understand? So although it is tough, okay?
Okay, so I know there's one thing I really wanted to point out.
All right.
And I feel like young people coming to practice should have this in mind. You have to adjust your expectations. I will normally tell people that the architect's creativity is limited by the client's budget. Not every project you're going to do is portfolio perfect.
Yeah.
Because you come into practice and you have this inspiration, you want to change the world. And I mean, there's no problem with that. But you have a client who tells you that is certain type of voodoo in quotes that they want you to do, and you have to do it. You don't have to like the design. You don't have to like that pattern of design. For example, someone who loves doing a lot of curves.
Yeah.
And the office says, okay, this client wants to do this building straight boxes.
First of all, curves is very expensive. If you are designing with curves, you are
In this economy,
a lot of money. But we'll continue.
So
with what
the office says they want straight boxes and stuff. It's not in your job to force the office to want to do curves. You must align with the philosophy of where you are.
Yeah.
You must fall in line. That's just the truth. But you find some people, they still want to force their personal concept.
Yes, and let's be real. As a client, I mean, I don't want to change the world. I just want to build my building.
I tell you.
Whether you want to change the world or not, at the end of the day, just
You
give
don't
me
want
my
to change the world.
building.
Some clients want to change.
I mean,
You don't want to be great.
just build my building.
You just want to save
Yeah,
money. I understand. But then sometimes, part of the things we do as architects is to solve the client problems in ways that they don't know. In fact, problems they don't even know they have.
Yes.
In ways that they won't even know that the problem even
existed actually.
So if part of the problem that the client is having is, budget, money, you don't go and start doing things that will take more money from the client's pocket.
Of course.
You understand? So it is part of all those things. When we are in school, we were taught about architects, great architects.
Frank Lloyd Wright.
I did them.
Antonio Gaudi.
All those people.
Norman Foster.
They were not great because they were doing normal stuff.
Yes.
They were great because they had very rich clients.
Let's establish that fact. It's very important. Let's not lie to us.
That is willing. Now, when you take a look at building like Villa Savoy, the one that was designed by Le Corbusier, okay, you may not see why it is nice or everything, but that building was actually very expensive. He had a very expensive client that gave him money to do that. So you now feel that, okay, when you graduate from school now, if you are talented enough, you are going to be as successful as those guys. Now, these are very few architects out of many in the world that you get to hear about doing all those things. Okay? Those are very talented architects, so to say, but they also have other things that you may not know about that is enabling them to be able to do all those things. Okay, so now when you graduate and you are not, the success is coming at a slow pace and they keep you where you are doing doors and window schedules and bathroom details and all those things, you are not now happy because you want to become Zaha Hadid of Nigeria.
I mean,
you have to lower that expectation. I'm not saying don't be great. If you find yourself in the corridor where you can be great, please,
of course,
go for it.
Of course,
but you have to manage this expectation. Okay.
Something I wanted to talk about was presentation.
Yes.
Now, the 300 level or 200 level students out there now, so is thinking that maybe if you are going to design for a client, you are going to start from research findings and all those, the way they arrange their sheets in all those before coming to design consideration. But I found out that it is different in the actual world because each firm has their own presentation standards. And this is not done by arranging your sheets in Revit. You have to actually finish the design and then you use a design software to actually prepare those presentations. And I'm saying this because I did not know this until I started doing my internship. I did not know about present. I was all my life up until 300 level second semester. I was thinking that if you get a job from a client, the same way you present during jury with those sheets, it's the same way you
can do that if you want.
If the client is paying well, why not?
There are some actually. There are some. We do that during proposal and stuff. There are some projects that you get. You understand? It will call for it. You have to explain some kind of things, the conceptualization, the design, and all those things. You understand? You don't just go and present your plans, your site plans, and all those things. You do that when we are now talking about construction. You know, you're doing construction drawing and all those things. You go straight to the point. Okay, this is the site plan. The site information, all those necessary information that you're supposed to provide on your plans, your sections, your elevations, and all that. But when the design is still at the stage where you are still trying to woo the client, to sell your ideas to the client, and sometimes you might even have to tell a story about the context, what is going on around that site. That will better help you explain the reason why you
choose certain elements.
You took some decisions.
That's actually different from what I'm saying is, for example, anthropometrics, kitchen sizes, living room and bedroom sizes.
These are things that you should know.
Yes.
No, I'm telling you that plenty of us then we thought that this is how we're going to do it.
That's really just nobody's
stuff is
it's more of educational,
to know that the kitchen worktop should be this high because of so and so. When somebody is standing, this is where it should be, and this is what will be comfortable for them. That is for educational purposes. Yes.
I feel like another important thing to really point out is the fact that you're going to be doing presentations all your life. If you can't master the art of presentation while in school in front of a jury of 4 lecturers, maybe BS1 students that want to laugh at you, you struggle because
Okay, you're talking about the
the
one you present.
to clients and
Okay,
stuff.
the talking part of
Yes, the
presentation.
talking part of presentation.
Okay.
Even in office meetings and stuff, you would have to know how to present your ideas, and
Yeah.
and more importantly, you also know you need to master how to criticize properly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. When we're in school, some people had a funny way of criticizing designs. To the extent that you may now become, I think it's a two-way
You now
thing.
become timid.
You may become timid or ashamed. At the same
Yes.
time, some people always wanted to hide their designs because they
want
didn't
to
want
wow-
opinions.
They want to wow us at the
Yes,
end.
but the funny thing is that throughout your practice, you always have opinion. Architecture is the art and science. There's an art part where
In theory and practice.
even the client's brother, everybody is going to have an opinion, and how you process this information, how you process the things that they say to you, would really matter to you. A quick, very funny story. I remember during my internship, the guy was like an MSc student. Not MSc, he was a graduate, and he shared a design in the office meeting. I don't know, they were like, anybody has an opinion. Nobody said anything. And then my boss then was like, IT students, I want you people to have an opinion. Me, I quickly open my mouth. So what is this? It's sliding window. So it was really funny because they put me on buying bole for like 1 full month. That's what it's right. So, but you need to master how to criticize, how to take criticism. And these are the things you take from school. I understand that some lecturers can be hard-nosed. They will tell you something, you can't cry and think about your life.
Yeah.
But
some clients will do that, and even
I'm
worse.
telling you, even worse.
So
even
you
worse.
have to also know how to deal with such clients if you want to deal with them, because the truth is that not every client will want to work with you. And then as the architect, it's not every client that you may want to work with, and it's okay. But then in a climate such as Nigerian's climate, you need as much job as you can get.
Exactly.
So being emotionally intelligent, permit me to use the word
I think
emotionally
that's the word.
intelligent,
Actually, that's the word.
to know how to communicate with some clients and how to deal with some clients that are quote unquote difficult, and it will also come in very handy. All right, so just a quick recap. We have already addressed this misconception and the reason why we have that. The reason why we have some misconception is because we have this romanticized vision sold in school that architecture is presented as purely creative and noble pursuit. You go there,
Yeah,
You
they
let
say
the
architecture
word-
is for noble men.
you left the word, have it. Your creativity.
Give them.
You give it to them. And then, so when you're not trying to put, now when you come out now in the real world, you're not trying to give them that creativity, and the client is telling you, see, can we just
Architect, can we just?
Can we just
I know what you are trying to do.
I see.
I
it.
like it. It's very nice. But can we just paint it black? A friend of mine did it in M&A, and I think it's nice.
You think it's not?
How you are now able to manage such situation with that client, to be able to communicate the reason why painting it black is not going to be a good idea, and knowing the battle that you are going to die on and the one you are just going to let go, is now what you learn when you come out and you are practicing.
Yeah.
All right. So in school, mentors, they emphasize on being bold. Being very bold with your creativity.
Making a statement.
Nobody is talking because creativity costs money.
Actually, it does. Actually, it does.
all those people that you see their work, and you Norman Foster, all those you see Norman Foster.
Not just to build, to maintain.
Has proposed a design for
Manchester.
you see that design? Very nice, very wonderful. So all those things, very nice. But when you think about the cost of doing those things, it's not an easy stuff.
At all.
So you work with your client's budget, okay, and you will not have any problem. And also, the expectation. The school operates in short cycles, few months per project, and it gives fast feedbacks.
Yeah.
Whereas in professional world, it can be fast, it can be small,
Slow.
it can be long, it can be short, and the feedback may not come immediately. It might come 5 years later when
Yeah.
people are already using the building,
Yeah.
and they will tell you that, look at what you did for us. It's leaking. It's doing this. It's doing that.
Man.
Even though there is need to test the building before you hand over. that is doing the snag list and ceremony. So we have already talked about the myth of the star architect journey. Come out, you want to be Zara. There's nothing wrong with that. Just have to make sure that you are realistic with your dreams, okay? So that you don't have your heart broken, because you will learn. With time, you are going to know what is what and what is not what. So now I want to share like our experiences. Me personally, I will start with myself.
Okay.
Experiences when I realized that it be like say it don't scam also. It doesn't get easier. And this is when you now have to even put in the work, because now it counts. Whatever we did in school, It counted though. You got your grades for it, and you were able to graduate because you were able to finish all the things that are required of you as a student in the university, right? Both during the BSc and the MSc. But then that fades in comparison when it comes to real life. First of all, I finished school. I was living in the hostel. Okay, life was easy. Just from hostel to studio. Bam, you were where you needed to be when you needed to be there. And when I graduated, that was in my BSc days. That was when stuff got real. I graduated. Now I need to leave the hostel. I needed to get an apartment in the town. I already know I can't tell my parents about it, because immediately you tell them this, they will be like, come back home. We have a house.
Real. Their solution to every problem is come back.
Come
home.
back to the house. You want us to pay for what? Which work do you know you're doing there?
Come home.
I decided not to tell them, sort out this thing with my friend. I was still thinking about how to go about this before I got approached by an architect, which I'm still working for till today. And he now made me a proposal. Immediately, I jumped on it and I said, it's good though. I want to work with you, but I don't have a place to stay. He now got me an accommodation, temporary accommodation. I'm supposed to now get money to go and find a house. Now, the money I needed to get that house is now what kept me on my toes at that initial stage. And I was working. If any opportunity I get to do any job to get money so I can pay for my own accommodation. Mind you, I already had a roommate that we are both of us, we are working hard. So for him, he's not resting. Me, I'm not resting. We are working to be able to foot that bill. So that's just the beginning, Finally, we were able to get a reasonable amount of money. We now got it and furnished it and all that. After a while, I got the opportunity to relocate from Enugu to Abuja, to start working in Abuja now. That was when it got so real. Because in Abuja, if you are not where you need to be to enter the transportation that will take you to office by 7:30, you have missed it. We already 7:30 every morning, police signboard. That's where you find me, waiting for along that will take me to work. So that is what you do 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, and then till Christmas. Christmas break is and then Salah breaks, that is 2 days or
2 days or so.
You rest for 2 days, Easter 2 days, and then Christmas, that is when they will give you 1 month to go and rest. And then you come back next day. You'll be working, you find out that in July you are tired. It has finished. You are just dragging yourself to work. And you still have to work till December.
Sorry to go. Some people while in school, they are so creative. They enjoy it. They hunger for design.
Yeah.
You come into practice and then your hunger for design is sponsored by money. So it's not.
Bro, I'm telling you, I got to this office for the first 6 months. I was doing bathroom details. I'll come in the morning. It's not that you are doing it, or nobody. The principal is always standing on the floor. He will come, keep his stuff. He come, he's standing
He's
there.
standing on his mandate.
What are you working on? What are you working on? So I look at. He will make correction, do this, use this type of tiles, go to this person will give you our details, how we do it. You go there, they will tell you, you come back, you do. Every single day. Actually, we were working on a very massive hospital right around that time. So a lot of toilets, both the public ones, both the one in the consultant office, the one in private ward, all those toilets, you have to go there, tag it properly, list it out, put it on sheet, and then every
Details.
single thing that will be inside that place, you're going to put it and you're going to write it. And these are the work that are very like problematic to do, but people will still see that you're not even doing anything.
You know,
Just
I'm telling you,
what are you working on? Please do that and come and take some. And then they throw you around. If there's any urgent stuff that they need to do, you leave that one first. You come and do door and window schedule for somebody. You're like an architectural assistant. You do doors and window schedule for somebody. You do cutting wall is the one I try to run away from because there's no automating.
Their
that one.
details.
So that's how we just like started, and I worked there for 3 years, getting to 4 years before I decided, you know what, let me just come back and do my master's and see how that goes. And then I came back, started my master's, did my master's. By the grace of God, we are rounding up.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
In my own case, for example, I won't say, so obviously maybe I was staying off campus. I was staying off campus when I was done with school.
Those are the big boys.
I beg, my destiny help. I'm watching this.
Those are the big boys. They're staying off campus well in years.
Campus. So by the time I was done, I remember I traveled to go and see my family then. And, as usual, stay here. Where are you going?
Yeah.
It just dawned on me that, bro, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there because I felt, so maybe thanks to the kind of background I had, people around me, you hear stuff like, if you finish school, you go back to your father's house, you are useless.
I'm telling you. So you're supposed to start making money.
Start making money. So those are the kind of things I had in my head. So I made up my mind that I was not going to go. But I had the opportunity to work in one or two firms, one in Port Harcourt, one in Enugu here. But then I just spoke to this architect. I said, sir, please, I would like to learn. Because as at the time, I did not have a good laptop that can render. So I had little knowledge, in fact, little to no knowledge in the use of Revit, for example.
Yeah.
I used Revit during my internship, obviously, but it was not as good. And so I felt like this was an opportunity to learn. For me, that was the deciding factor. And, I came back and I started working. And the truth is, I learned. In a very short time, you are learning how to model properly.
Yeah.
You begin to notice that as much as, I really appreciate my lecturers in school. They really try to teach us modeling with Revit and a little bit of AutoCAD. But there is more to it.
Yeah.
You come out and then you begin to actively try to grow your knowledge about the use of 3D softwares. And I'm going to use the opportunity to say that if you're in school and you're not learning any 3D softwares as an architecture student, I don't think you're really serious about practicing. Because as much as hand drawing is important, and that's what most BSc schools in Nigeria do, not all of them. When you come out, what is going to give you an edge is your use of softwares.
Yeah, because you are going to help the people designing present those ideas.
Yes.
And your ability to be able to do it properly. In a way that it is going to, when someone else opens the file, they can be able to. Because
This
some
is
people
just
will finish working.
bro.
You touch the file. The file will touch you back.
It just reminds me of one situation. A friend of mine, they gave him a file to work on, and then he clicked on it. I don't know, was it window? They used be extrusion to.
The model in
It
place.
happens.
Model
It
in
happens
place,
to you
then
now.
Use void.
To open the windows.
Then use a material glass to put it there.
Oh my God, it's a lot. So I came out and then I began to learn modeling. I've been working in that same firm till now, and for me, it's just been a process of learning. By God's grace, done with my master's soon, but at the same time, I feel like architecture is a full lifelong learning process.
Yeah.
Because even architects, you speak with architects who have been practicing for over 35 years, they are still learning.
Yeah, of course. But they may not tell you that they're silly, but they will learn every day.
Yes,
Otherwise, you'll be outdated.
Yeah.
Light, please.
So,
your personal life
My
experience.
personal life experience, well, I would say I got lucky because I was informed per se from online and everywhere that I need to learn these software. So back then from 200 level, our lecturer was like encouraging us to learn Revit or learn modeling software. So back then from 200 level, I already started learning it. So I already knew how to use Revit to do some projects. Then when I now started my internship, that was where I actually started doing some real life projects. So I took a very, very particular liking to rendering. That was where I based in rendering. So, and during that internship, I was lucky enough to get a client. So for my 400 level, I was doing school work and also doing those works. Then this thing about sleepless nights, I won't even lie. I was thinking that it's going to end after I graduate, I swear. This thing about sleepless nights. Because, I mean, I was trying so hard to back that degree and make A in design. It worked out, by the way. But after...
He just had to slip it in. He walked out.
I mean.
Yeah, boy.
But immediately after my final presentation was on Thursday. I started working on a Monday. And it was more or less, I won't say it was harder, but it was more or less the same because the sleepless nights did not stop and it has not stopped till today. So, I mean, just that expectation that after your studio life, that studio life is the only time you do night class. Outside is not called night class, but you are still going to stay up through the night. Either with coffee, whatever.
Coffee, don't encourage. We don't encourage.
We don't encourage.
Don't do that.
Okay, don't do
Don't
that.
go and
But I
take what
mean-
we give you. We have been advising this boy. Take something that will stop your heart one night. You did not hear
Architecture
the
will move on.
See, I want to ask you because you are mentioning sleepless nights. Around what time do you normally sleep? Like average.
Okay.
Let's know whether you are going to, because there's this thing I saw on Instagram. I was in the middle of the night too. I was great. The person was like, if you are awake, if you're always awake around 11 p.m., past 11 p.m., that you're killing yourself.
Ew.
I saw
And
that
I was
too.
scrolling through internet around at 3 a.m. When I saw it. So around what time? Let's know whether you are about to
Well,
kill yourself.
yeah, according to that video, I'm killing myself. But on days where is this, do you mean during school or now?
No.
Okay. Now, well, we work till like 3-4 a.m. then sleep.
Now what for you?
Excuse.
We have to be ready for work by 9.
You're going to die, yo. Please, don't do that. Work-life balance.
Yes.
Okay, if you can.
The word is even work-life integration. We'll talk about that in another video. It's not the same.
Stay tuned. So now there's need, from the story we have actually told you, there's need to manage your expectations, because I never expected that when I get to. By the way, I got first class, so I was thinking I knew this stuff. Like, yeah, I'm going to that Abuja to go and.
Get there.
So you manage your expectation. When you get there, you just, how can I learn? How can I improve myself in the one I'm doing? Okay. So the second one is how to learn to improve your skills. What skills will be required of you when you are just starting on the entry level? You are going to be assisting people that are actually doing this stuff, design. So you should be able to know how to model. You should be able to know how to do presentation drawing, working drawing, all those things. So you start learning and improving yourself in all those things. Find out what is required. The requirements of all those things, presentation, the requirement of, where you can get nice images from, where you can get
the information is not even
nice
scarce.
fonts. Yes,
Go online,
online.
YouTube, simple or difficult.
Yes.
There are a lot of
How
videos.
to do renders, like Light said, he started rendering, he got a client. Even when he was in school, he was rendering, making small money. I don't know how much he's charging them, but let me assume it's small money. Because nowadays, people charge a lot of money. Making small money while still in school, he came out, even though he's using... Don't do that. Okay? Whenever you are tired, please sleep.
Go and sleep.
Life will continue.
Go and sleep.
So another thing is, you also have to know how to, understand the role of mentorship and community. When you leave school, you'll be thinking, bro, I'm an architect now. But like he said, even those that have been practicing for 45 years, 50 years, they are still learning. in their own ways. They are still learning and they are teaching. The best way to learn is to teach. They are still learning and they are teaching. And if you feel like you have arrived, that you need to have, this what is it called? This culture of talking to older colleagues or mentors.
Teachability.
You understand? So that you have to be humble. Learn from them. If they're telling you something, actually listen. Pay attention so that you learn, because there are some mistakes they have made in the course of their practice and life as an architect that you don't have to make if only you would listen. You understand? And also seek guidance early. If you want, let's say, for instance, now there's a design I'm doing currently, a shopping mall design. Okay, there is this problem of traffic, because what comes with shopping mall is that people want to come in, drive into a lot of people will drive in. And now the issue with this is the traffic, the road in front of that shopping mall is not one-way traffic. It is actually two-way, going and coming. So for one of the traffic to access that site, it has to cut through the traffic. And for it to cut through the traffic, it has to wait now for the vehicles that are moving to reduce. And in so doing, it is causing congestion behind it. Congestion, so all those things are issues that you are going to solve when you start designing. You solve traffic problems, you solve all those things to the best of your ability, because there are some things that you don't have jurisdictions to do.
Of course.
You might want to introduce the roundabout, and the road is a federal road. You have a lot of processes you have to go through and navigate. And then you might now have to devise another means, to help reduce the effect of the problem you are creating. Because sometimes when we are designing, we are creating a problem.
Yes. In creating a solution, you end up creating another problem.
Exactly. So now, how you are able to manage this problem you are creating while trying to solve a problem is what will make you a good architect, a better architect, or the best architect for the particular job. So now, how I was able to finally get to solve this problem is I started, calling my ogas at the top. I called quite a number of them. I had conversation with the ones that are in the office where this office, and we all, shared ideas. And at the end of the day, I was able to come to a working solution that is feasible for me to be able to do so it is always important to have this support network inside and outside of your office.
I remember when I found out that, because like where I schooled in UNN, it's not like that. I found out that some people hide Revit's families and stuff. I noticed that on Revit. I noticed that on Twitter, where some people, it's almost like they are hiding things that can improve others. The truth is that architecture does not work that way. You need a community of people.
Yes.
No matter how much you think you know, you need a community of people where you can learn from, share ideas from, because that's the easiest way to grow. There's enough space in the sky for stars. And, all it takes for you to shine sometimes is knowledge. And that knowledge, you may not have it on your own.
Yes. I think based on this thing you were saying now, I think it is very rampant inside school also, like hiding families. Like now, people, like doing design now, I feel like these people should be working together during design, even though that, yes, it's a personal design and all. But I feel like people should be sharing ideas. But if you notice, at least from experience, inside studio, you see people that know something. You have an idea of something, but no, you're not going to share it. Why? Because that person, you want to be the highest. You want to score.
But if you think about it critically, you will not really blame the students in the studio. You know why?
Why?
Because in school, they punish you for collaborating.
Yes.
If you work with somebody...
That's a big contrast between school and real life practice.
If you work with somebody, you have to be very careful how you're working with that person.
Okay.
And you have to work with someone that has sense.
Yes.
Sense in this sense is that you already know that if my design is looking like your design, both of us might get penalized for it. So you need to work with somebody that cares about that. So that if you are sharing idea with this person, you are sharing idea to help develop this person's, creativity, to make it, sometimes you have this idea, but you don't know how to like put it down in a way that it will make
And
sense.
someone external is the one
Yes.
that can.
So when you now start discussing this thing with somebody, but what happens is that you are discussing with this thing, and the person is busy taking your ideas and putting it in their own. Now at the end of the day, it's as if both of you copied each other. So the best way for you to avoid it is for you to just like do your stuff.
Okay.
And that is part of the reason why some people do that. Because if I'm being honest, I did it too.
Okay.
I did it too. I will not show you my design because I believe that if I show you, you can't help it.
But
Once you see something, you will be tilted towards it. You can't help it. But as we grow, like when I came back for my master's, I didn't necessarily hide, but it's not as if I will now start bringing it out and posting it. But if you want to see what I am doing, I will still show you. Because now I believe that even though you have sense now because you're adults, you are doing MSc, you know what is it. So even though you are seeing it, you should be able to know what to do and what not to do at this point. Because it's just like you're trusting this person now. So in school, it's a different ball game because if you are working together, it can easily turn into copying. And how do you now? We had a lot of issues that came up in school back then.
Yeah.
Where two people after presenting, another person is presenting. Hey, we have seen this. Both two of them might end up coming back next year. So when you are there and you see something like that happen, next semester I feel like, nobody's seen my design. I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of why I think it is usually rampant in school that people hide. But if it is hiding models, components, I don't see any reason why somebody should do that. But hiding the work you're doing, don't just do what you have to do so you don't come back next year. That's what I just...
For me, that's the contrast between school and natural practice.
Yes.
Because in natural practice, I mean, sharing an idea means you're bettering somebody.
Yes.
You yourself, you're grabbing ideas from people.
And you get to hear the person's take on that idea to
Exactly.
better refine the idea.
It's like getting a feedback on the idea you have.
Exactly.
So when you are sharing this, because mind you are not the only person doing a design
Yes.
in the outside world.
Engineers are involved.
So you
A lot of
have
people are
to,
involved.
that idea you're having, you have to share it so that others can see it and understand. And because two good heads are always better than one head. The idea might be going well in your head, but the moment when you start saying it out loud, you will now start hearing that there are a lot of errors in the thinking, so they can help better it. And also collaboration, because you are part of the system, you are just a small cog in the machine that is running the design. So you have to contribute because others will be bringing their ideas, you'll be making your own contribution, so that at the end of the day, everything will come out nice. All right, so what advice would you have given, like say, when you just graduated, final year? What do you know now that you wish you had known then? What advice would you give to your younger self?
I personally, I won't really say what I wish I had known. I knew it, and I think it's still vital. I would tell anybody who is graduating, because I remember I had a conversation with a friend, and she was the one that told me this particular thing. As a fresh graduate, it's really important that you go to where you will learn. It's really important that you seek an office or a place where you learn. I understand that it's okay if you don't want to. I don't know if it's okay, Shabo. If you say you don't want to practice under somebody, you want to be an entrepreneur, whatever, that's your life. But for the first 1, 2, 3 years of graduating from school, it's really important that you go to where there are people who are far more knowledgeable than you to learn, because there's a lot you do not know. So that's something that, and for me, it was what influenced my decision to apply to where I applied to.
Yeah. So, Light, what advice?
Advice for students or fresh graduates?
Give yourself advice.
Because I'm a
I'm
a fresh graduate.
Oh, yeah, now.
Okay. So
What do you think? Just say what you think.
the thing is,
I'll wrap it up.
what I think and what.
From your point of view now,
Yes,
you're a
yes.
fresh graduate.
Yes.
What you know now versus then. It's not up to a year that you just graduated.
It's not even up. It's not even up to 6 months.
Wow. And we are here. You're talking. Oh yeah, give those that are in school now.
Oh, man, that's what I'm saying. Let me give to that in school. Let
Yes,
me give.
give.
So, for those in school,
Yes.
our advice is as much as drafting and pencil work and inking work is very, very important for you to know. You should know it. You should have those skills. But be very, very, very intentional about softwares.
Yeah.
Be very intentional about softwares. At your 300 level, you should already be learning how to render. But yes, use Atlantis, use Lumi, use all those things. It will get you into like the interface or the user interface of a rendering software. For Revit, know how to convert to AutoCAD. All these things we have to do with software, because that is basically what we do outside. So yes, it is good as a BSc, you should learn your drafting and everything, but be very, very intentional about softwares, even though that you are not being pressured as much to know those things. Now, if you don't know them and you come out, you'd regret. So that's basically my advice.
So why is it important for them to know the softwares?
Well, it is very important. It is very important to know these softwares. Why? Because let us be realistic. You are not going to use a T-square or a Z-square after you graduate.
Okay, so it's going to improve their chance of being
Yes,
employed,
employability.
Yes.
and also
Exactly.
being able to fend for themselves. Because,
Exactly.
like we said, ego chow, come again.
Batego.
That means when you finish school, you better make money.
Yes.
Because probably you are not sent to school to contribute to knowledge.
Only. You're not just
You are sent to school to be able to become a meaningful member of the society. And part of what meaningful member of society does is to
You're not a liability to anybody.
You are not
Exactly.
a liability to contribute to the economy of the nation through your transactions and business activities. Now, the advice I would have given myself, and advice I'm giving to people that are fresh graduates, even you too, because you're a fresh
I
graduate.
mean,
Yeah. You have to shift from the mentality of surviving to strategizing. I will explain what I mean by that.
okay.
That simply means, in school, all we are doing is, let me just finish this design. This semester finish. Bah. We rest. That is it.
Yeah, it's a survival. It's a
You
survival.
are surviving design, you are surviving structures, building components and methods. You are
Structures
surviving
was
everything.
important to
Bam,
point
bam,
out.
bam, bam, bam. 2 days to assignment. Bah. You jump in and jump out. 5 minutes in. If you're not choking, it's the architecture that you're doing. So you have to strategize. Okay. In your career, it's about thinking strategically. You have to build the skill, like you said. Build the skill, then you build networks. Because with your skill, you do a good job for this person, the person is going to recommend you probably, because this our job is a job. We don't advertise like that.
Yeah.
But if you're good, you're good.
Yes.
People will recommend you. It's like when you're using iPhone, you always post to Android users that, look at my iPhone, very nice. Because iPhone is a nice something to have. Android is also nice, but it depends. Because Android, anybody can come and do you have various products. But let's not digress too much. And also, when you now build that network, you now slowly position yourself. Position yourself in the, where you want to occupy in the industry, because there are a lot of things you can do as an architect. You can go into construction. You can go into designing alone, and then you supervise. You can go to contract administration. You help the
Serial
clients.
management,
Yeah, you
carpentry
can
stuff,
be interior designer. You can render like lights.
3D visualizer.
Visualizing, all those things, you can still earn a living. You just have to be good. You just have to get good. Like I said, you build the skill, you build the network, then you position yourself. Now, you have to, apart from managing your time, you have to also manage your energy. You understand? You can't always work long hours. Sometimes, when you need to deliver something real quick, you deliver it, then you rest.
Yes.
Other times, you manage your energy, you work. And how you manage your energy, you give realistic deadlines when you start doing your own stuff. Because when you are rendering for people, maybe you are the one running this office now, your own stuff. You have to give realistic deadlines. It's not when client comes and gives you something now and tell you they need it
Tomorrow morning.
and you jump. And that is how you be living your life, up and down, up and down. No, you have to give realistic deadlines, and then you set realistic daily goals, and you take breaks. You maintain work-life balance. So this life is short. Before you know, 70 years have passed, and you don't have anything to show. You think you're making money. You just
You just have a lot of renders.
there's no money. You have a lot of renders that you have done. Where is it? So you have to be reasonable with this thing. And also you have to accept the unattractive stage of growth. You see that moment they tell you to start doing doors and window schedule, do it.
With all joy.
Do it with all your heart. It is setting foundation for you to do higher things. Mind you, in that office, I started doing important design as time goes on. I did a lot of doors and window schedules, cutting wall schedules. My God. Bathroom details, staircase details. What type of details are we talking about? Like materials and all those things. Presentation. There is no type of presentation that I did not do. But as time goes on, you do all those little things very well, and you do them, they start trusting you with other more serious stuff. You understand? The skill you develop during this boring stage, this boring phase of your career, attention to detail, communication, because you are doing a lot of presentation, communication, documentation skills. These are what will make you a stronger architect later. Because now you have to tell people under you what to do, how to do them. If you can't communicate, if you can't document all those things, you won't be able to communicate them very well. You'll be doing things, people will be asking you, what is this, what is that? Let me not talk about somebody now. At the end of the day, it's very difficult. And then you have to be able to adapt. The moment you leave school, you find out that the school environment is different from the work environment.
Yes, exactly.
Your ability to adapt, your ability to be able to change your way of thinking from the school way of thinking to office, real life way of thinking, it is what is going to make you successful. Now, we have already defined what success can be if you want it to. It doesn't mean being famous. It doesn't mean trending on Twitter, from X, formerly known as Twitter or Instagram. It means, the personal goals you have set for yourself that will make your life better. Peace can be success. Work-life balance, like I said, can be success. Not drinking and coffee to stay awake can be success. All right, you have to embrace feedback and humility, like Praise said. Feedback and humility. Be humble. You are just starting. You know a lot, we know, but there is more you can still learn. And you will only be able to learn if you are humble. If you accept critics, okay? It doesn't stop after school. Your jurors are not the only people that will criticize your work. You come out client, the brothers to the client, the wife of the client, very major, like the kitchen. Don't worry, you will see.
You will see.
They will criticize it. They will tell you, why are we not having 5 sinks here? Hang AC for me, television, put island. And you're looking at the space you're supposed to do all these things.
And you cannot enter.
Nothing is entering that space. So, but you have to now accept criticism to know how you can approach the problem to be able to get solutions that works for everybody.
Yes.
So your work will still be reviewed, corrected, and challenged.
Challenged by people that don't even have knowledge about architecture.
And also people that have knowledge. In the office, everybody will challenge it. Now, learning to accept feedback without taking it personally. That's the key word. Don't take it personal. Without taking it personally as it relates to your professional maturity. So now you have to invest in continuous learning. You have to go to YouTube, self-education. You have to talk to, like I said, network of people that have gone on before you. You have to learn to communicate with those people, talk with them, and then build relationship, not just resume. Now, please, relationship. Building relationship doesn't mean doing free work. Please, that's not what it means. Building relationship is maintaining good working, like be a pro. Like now, if you give somebody a deadline, you understand?
Yeah.
You have to meet up with the deadline and give the client the possibly best services you can give at that point in time. And when you do that, trust me, you're going to build meaningful relationship.
Yeah.
You understand? Not just with clients, with engineers, with architects. You do what you're supposed to do. When you do what you're supposed to do and do it very well, there will be no problem. See all those people that are trying to blackmail you into or do this thing, manipulate you, doing job for free.
Don't worry, another job is coming.
I have a lot of clients. I have a lot of this. You do this, please.
Instead, I would advise spend that time on YouTube, learning the software, mastering the software.
Yes, because if you start, it's a slippery slope. If you start on that way, you do free job, you will always keep doing that free job for that person. The moment you start, you want to charge the person will be like, they'll go to somewhere else. Most of the time, that's what happens. Okay, but you have to also be reasonable because you are just starting. You have to be reasonable with what you are charging. As a beginner that you are, be reasonable, and the more you grow, the more you have to offer. You can now start increasing the rate of what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you thought graduation was the finish line, okay, we are at the end of this today's discussion. If you thought graduation was the finish line, you're in for the shock of your life because it's actually the starting line. And trust me, the real race is getting better at what you do on the daily basis. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has a better view, bigger hurdles, and has a way better stories to tell, along the line. Okay, thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope this conversation gave you a few laughs, a little clarity, and a lot of encouragement for the journey ahead. Okay, if you love today's conversation, today's podcast, even if you love it just a little bit, we are going to take that as well. Do well to follow us. Don't forget to follow us on our social media outlets. We are on Instagram, we are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok. Okay, and when you follow us, that is, you have not followed us or subscribed yet, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our future episodes as they unravel. All right. Think of it as setting a reminder for your career growth, but in a fun way. All right. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next one.